Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show this evening. And we have a great guest speaker. I'm your host, Christy, here also with your hosts, Magdalena and Marie. And I'm going to turn it over to Magdalena to introduce our guests.
Well, thank you, Chrissy, and I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for coming for our show again, because we've been kind of postponing for a little while. And we started to, kind of pick up again energetically. And for tonight, we have actually a great surprise. I decided to bring a guest who I met on the Let's Go Brandon on April 4th. And when I saw the information, what he was sharing, I was very excited. And I asked him, would he be willing to, join our Zoom call here and share the information with you guys. So I really wanted to welcome Stanford Graham and his friend. And I just wanted to let you guys take over the platform and share everything what you are willing to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdalena. It's great to be with you tonight and all your group here. It was fun to meet you in Tampa. So, but we're happy to be here. What you asked me to.
Okay, Graham, what I would like you to do is I would really like you to share. I mean, I didn't go into your bio. People can kind of figure out, or if you wanted to talk more about your bio, you can please incorporate that. But what I would really like to know about your product, what you were sharing at the rally about the Cardio Miracle. And when I saw the information, it was fascinating, because what I was realizing, it is actually very helpful, especially for people who are getting these injections. And, how can that help for the benefit health-wise? And also later on, if you wanted to kind of share your legal aspect, because you are actually on the team with Dr. David Martin, and that was another very exciting, point when I recognized that, because we are a huge follower also, Awakening Humanity. So thank you.
Yeah, well, happy to join you tonight. Let's, what we'll address here, the reason we'll address what is a molecule called nitric oxide, this Cardio Miracle product. I'm the executive director of Sanacor International, which is the producer of the Cardio Miracle product. Cardio Miracle is a nitric oxide inducing supplement. So the first thing we'll do is drill down into some specifics about the biological necessity of nitric oxide and its function in the body. Why is it relevant? And then we'll go from that and get into a little bit of the product itself and the science behind that. We're a science-based nutraceutical company, so we'll go into some of that science, and you'll see exactly why it's so relevant, as you've been talking about the orientation of the celestial bodies and the importance of the heart now. I think we'll see that that will bear out during our conversation. So we'll take some maybe 25, 30 minutes to going through that information, and then we'll take 10 or 15 minutes to review some of the legal actions that David Martin and his team and I that we're pursuing, and the status of some of those cases, particularly a federal case in Utah against the Biden administration. And then finally, we'll wrap up with presenting you with a website, Prosecute Now, which is an organization that Joseph Hicks, who's on, and I have been involved with David building out. And so that will actually, that site, the improvements to that site will actually go live tomorrow. So we'll give you the first look at the new and improved site that we've made. That'll be just completed in the next 24 hours. So that's what we'll do in the next 50 to 60 minutes. How's that?
Perfect. Awesome.
Okay. Great. Joe, let's jump to that slide deck and hit the slide number 2, the first substantive slide, please. Great. So Magdalena, I prepared this deck actually to present to a few hundred, almost 1,000 doctors. And so this has quite a bit of technical information on it, but I'm sure it'll be very relevant to your group.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to open the conversation by introducing a word. Perhaps some of you are familiar with it, maybe some not. It's your endothelium. The endothelium is a monolining layer that lines the complete vasculature of your cardiovascular system and the vasculature of your lymph system. It's this small inner lining of every blood vessel and every lymph vessel in your body. And you can see here on the left the illustrations of 3 different types of blood vessels that we have, from very muscular arteries that you see in the upper left-hand corner down to very thin single cell wall lined arteries down in the lower right. The inner lining, like I say, of the blood vasculature is called the endothelium. It's the largest organ of the endocrine system, and it's made up of these small individual cells called endothelial cells. They're the only cell that has the direct contact with your blood, which is your liquid organ. So the endothelial cell is the only type of cell in your body that has that direct contact with your blood, and this will become critically important as we'll move along. It has, these endothelial cells are the, if you liken them to software, they have the ability to interpret the data in your blood. That's their job, is to interpret all the data that your blood's carrying, whether it's oxygen, lipids, amino acids, nutrition, hydration, pathogens as well. They respond to and read all of that data. And the endothelial cells are really the gate controllers of all of that data, and they determine whether what part of that data gets through from inside the blood compartment into the exterior tissue of the body. So as I said, these endothelial cells are the only cell that separates, the only type of cell that separates your blood from the interstitial tissue outside the blood compartment. And these, what we call capillaries or microcapillaries, are about 80 to 90% of our total vasculature in our body. Some of them are small enough, so small that even red blood cells will fold in half, right? Red blood cells will just form themselves in order to squeeze into these minuscule microcapillaries. So our bodies are shot through with all these microcapillaries that are made of this one type of cell. Microcapillaries are made of one type of cell, these same endothelial cells that I've been talking about. And so here are some of their functionality of these microcapillaries. They control the permeability of the blood vessel, kind of like the gut lining is to the gut, to the microbiome in the gut. The endothelial cells control the permeability of the blood vessels. They regulate the immune activity of the body. They're the first line of defense to recognize pathogens in the blood. And so they operate to signal to the immune system where the injury is specifically, or where the pathogens are occurring specifically in the body. As we talk a little bit more about the spike protein, this will help us understand why blood clots are showing up where they're ubiquitously throughout the body. Okay. And angiogenesis, one of the other things that these endothelial cells do, they're the only type of cell that create new blood vessels. So when you go into surgery or when you're injured, anytime there's an injury to our body that destroys blood vessels or damages blood vessels, these endothelial cells are the only type of cell that regenerates blood vessels, which obviously makes healing possible. So all healing of tissue requires new growth of blood vessels, and these endothelial cells, again, are the only cell that grow new blood vessels. Finally, they control the ability of the blood vessels to contract and restrict. So when the blood when the heart pumps out boluses of blood, our arteries flex, they dilate and constrict so that all that blood moves along, because the heart certainly isn't strong enough to pump blood, 100,000 miles of tubing through the body. So the blood vasculature helps in an enormous degree by actually flexing and contracting and pushing the blood through the system. So now why are we talking about the endothelial cells? Well, this is a publication in the European Heart Journal in August of 2020. Peter Libby, who is a chair of cardiovascular surgery and medicine at Harvard, made this conclusion. He said that COVID-19 is an endothelial disease. So you just sit on that for a minute. That, and this is in August of 2020 when he said that COVID-19, the disease, is an endothelial disease. He further stated that the virus itself causes the endothelial cells to dysfunction. So one of the things that, so I've made a study of all the forensic autopsies of all COVID deaths that are on record, all recorded forensic autopsies. And one of the things that Dr. Libby pointed out here in August of 2020 is that the cytokine storms that were evidenced in the autopsies looked very much like the consequences of endothelial disease. The fact that the lungs became, the vasculature of the pulmonary system became so permeable that liquid from inside the blood vessels, inside the microcapillaries, could not be withheld inside those capillaries. It would leak spontaneously within the lungs, leading to this to these various types of pneumonia, just extreme cases of pneumonia within hours, right? Well, about a year after that publication in the European Heart Journal, this research article was published in Circulation Research. And their observation was the damage to the endothelial cells had nothing to do with the virus. It was all caused by the spike protein alone. And not only was the spike protein designed to damage the endothelium, it was actually designed to attack it. And this goes back to one of the first things that when I was first introduced to David Martin through a podcast with Reiner, one of the things that captivated my attention was when David, in citing the forensic patent work he had done, said that these spike proteins in the patent work stated that the patent applications themselves stated that these were designed to damage epithelial and endothelial cells. And so Magdalena, that's when it got kind of personal with me, because knowing the science behind the CardioMiracle product, I knew that endothelial cells that were damaged were going to be unable to produce nitric oxide, because that's one of their primary functions, to keep them healthy. So this particular article, getting a little ahead of myself there, but this particular article found that the spike protein itself is the pathogen. As David Martin would say, is the bioweapon. And the consequences of the spike protein are so severe that in this particular image here, you can see how in the upper right-hand corner, it's an image of how the spike protein fractures the mitochondria. That's what that image is. And so these are mitochondria inside of the endothelial cells. So when you hear people that have experienced the SARS virus, whatever it is, both natural and synthetic, as a recombinant type of chimera animal